Hey, what's up guys? Ash here. As you can see, I've got all new digs. Clearly I do this because I want all new viewers to the channel to think they've accidentally stumbled on a cooking show instead of us actually nerding out about Troubleshooter. But on a side note, I am actually a pretty decent cook. So maybe one of these times I'll do like a video of Sion's favorite dishes or Mr. Kim's dumplings, I don't know. Anyway, without further ado, of course, today we're talking about Sion's Battlemage. Easily one of the strongest classes in the game, if not the strongest class in the game. Incredibly powerful. This video is a long time coming, and let's hop right into it.
Sion's Battlemage is a complete flip of playstyle from Blackmage, where you would normally keep Sion in the back row to avoid taking any damage, being extra squishy. Now he's probably one of the strongest, if not the strongest tanks in the game when you switch over to Battlemage. It can be kind of odd, as Blackmage does seem to be Sion's canon class, and it does boast more offensive potential. But as a whole, Battlemage will solidify Sion's defenses in such a way that you may never see him die again. As you can see here, Sion is soloing the 3 Destrons on 50 Violent. Any class capable of this is obviously unbelievably powerful. Sion's version of Battlemage brings a higher critical hit chance thanks to him being a lightning user, along with increased AoE capability and immunity to both responsives and AT delay via his Furious Lightning Gale. As a whole, Sion's defenses will be a bit stronger than Irene, where Irene will have a bit stronger offense due to supporting Magic Circuit, but we'll touch on that more later. If you've seen the Irene Battlemage video, then for the most part many concepts will convert over. There are many subtle and unsubtle differences between Irene and Sion's Battlemage, but as a whole, the Battlemage class is incredibly powerful, quite possibly the strongest in the entire game. They are capable of dealing massive damage, tanking incredible hits, and healing themselves afterwards. It's the kind of class that it's very hard to go wrong on, and as long as you understand the core basic principles, it will probably be both your easiest unit to handle and strongest unit at the same time. Important to note that traditional Battlemage leans more into the Elementalist subclass, as it primarily focuses around one core concept, concentrated magic power, or what I'll refer to as CMP for the rest of the video. If you haven't really touched Battlemage, reading all the factors behind CMP can be a bit daunting, but we'll break that down as the video goes on. For starters, 1 stack of CMP is equivalent to 1 Vigor Recovery and 20 ESP power, and can stack up to an incredible 25 times. There are in-combat modifiers to CMP, such as Magic Absorption, Magic Relief, Magic Restructuring, and so on, that I went over a bit more thoroughly in Irene's Battlemage class Spotlight, as well as out-of-combat modifiers to CMP that make up the majority of CMP generation. Let's go over those in more detail because that will really help. Most of the time, you'll be gaining your stacks of CMP from Magic Accelerating Circuit, Magic Duplication, and Overflowing Magic. If you're currently at 0 CMP, like at the start of a map, you'll gain an initial 1 CMP from Magic Accelerating Circuit. So an example right here, you can see that Sion is at 0. And so if you do nothing and you have Magic Accelerating Circuit on, this will then give you an initial 1 no matter what. And so this will then get powered by Magic Duplication at the very start of the turn, which will literally double your stacks of CMP at the start of every turn. So, you know, right here we had 0, and now we have 2, and that's, of course, thanks to Magic Accelerating Circuit giving us the 1, and then doubling it. This will continue over and over via Magic Duplication once you have that 1, and really Magic Duplication will then take, you know, from 2 to 4, 4 to 8, wait for these suppressors to leave, 2 to 4, 4 to 8, and then of course 8 to 16, and then 16, or what would be 32, but reality would be 25, which is the cap for stacks. Using just Magic Accelerating Circuit will get you to max stacks in exactly 5 turns, and that's not bad. And this is where Overflowing Magic comes in. If you trigger Magic Acceleration, the ability, and start a turn with Magic Acceleration activated, you'll get a bonus 2 CMP. With Magic Accelerating Circuit and Overflowing Magic combined on your next turn, you'll get 1 CMP from Magic Acceleration, 2 CMP from Overflowing Magic, multiplied by 2 for a total of 6 CMP. So right here you can see we're triggering Magic Acceleration, ending our turn, and then as the next turn comes up, we go straight to 6. So again, that's 1 from Magic Accelerating Circuit, 2 from Overflowing Magic, and then times 2 from Magic Duplication for 6. And then of course on the next turn, we'll be going from 6 plus 2, which is 8, times 2 from Magic Duplication, which will then become 16. And then of course on the next turn, 16 plus 2 is 18, times 2 is 36, or the max stacks at 25. And obviously this is just a much quicker method for generating. Utilizing this will get you to max stacks in exactly 3 turns and is the recommended method for CMP generation. So let's get into the good stuff. Once you actually have 25 stacks of CMP like seen here, you'll be able to essentially always double your damage through a mastery set called Magic Explosion. Magic Explosion will, of course, grant you a 4% chance to deal 100% increased damage per 1 CMP. This, of course, means that at 25 stacks, you will have a perfect 100% chance to trigger Magic Explosion, effectively doubling your damage at all times at full stacks. And it is important to note that this will not be found on the tooltip. The tooltip will not take this into account. So notice here on Ben, if we were to crit, it would hit for 6,000 damage, but triggering Magic Explosion, of course, will double that into 12,000 damage. And you can see right here, Sion fires it off, and Ben takes 12,000, killing him instantaneously from full health. This is essentially what makes up the primary offense for typical Battlemage builds, and is absolutely insane. Also important to note that, you know, and in particular to Sion, Magic Explosion is deadly because he has so many versions of area damage. Whether you're casting Ripple Flash, or Flash Beam, or Flash Beam Cannon, doesn't matter, all enemies will suffer that double damage that you're dealing across the board. This can lead to devastating circumstances where Sion can take out multiple targets very easily. As another look at this, here we are on 55 Island again. Thundercron is going to walk by here at full health. He's going to get hit by Capricorn's Web Shot, which is going to lower his health. That's also Gemini in the background, who's common staple for my team, basically supporting. Now, interesting, Sion is going to Ripple to get to Thundercron. And this is very interesting in the sense that he will actually choose Ripple over other abilities in order to hit a target that's further away. Because obviously from this distance, Sion cannot actually Ripple Flash to Thundercron. Instead, he used this guy as a target. It wasn't even Sion's turn, and he did that because he was covering in. Now, you can see the hit come in afterwards here, but you know, the ensuing damage that Thundercron takes because of this is unbelievable, essentially leaving him at Berserk like you saw before. This is because really Sion should always be at the front, and whether it's covering or pincering, I highly recommend that you really flesh out his bonding masteries, because he really is one of the best, if not the best, in the game. So let's take a look at Battlemage's defenses. Of course, Sion will have access to magic armor. This is actually going to make him a basically full covered landmark, and you can use this for your teammates to hide behind and actually get conceal and defenses and cover. This is incredibly useful, and we're going to have BB Park behind Sion here. And also notice Sion's positioning. Sion is at the front of the party. There's nobody behind him, and he's also running Giant Potion. I highly recommend Giant Potion for aggro. It will help with aggro generation, but really having Sion at the front will generally piss off the enemy, and so having a fast Sion is certainly very important. So we're about to see Schwartz get up here. He's up on the next turn, and he gets unlocked from freezing through auto restore here. He's going to do his leaping attack for 240 and then a re-attack for 153. And you know, there are certain characters in this game that if you were to take this kind of damage from Schwartz, you would die even if you blocked it. You know, think of like the squishier characters. But on Battlemage, obviously the 100% block addition from magic armor, along with, you know, some resistances and damage reduction, all kind of combine here to really make you can see his defenses in action. Taking it a step further, Sion's actually going to get up on this next turn here, and he's at overcharge. So we're actually going to do Annihilation Kick. And notice Sion's health, 2,449. So he's going to hit Schwartz 3 times for the max amount of damage that he possibly can do because of damage absorbing. But more importantly, Sion is going to heal to full, and this is through an ability called Magic Conversion. This is what gives battle mages unbelievable sustain, and you technically don't really need a healer to follow them around. It's kind of ridiculous, and you know, you can see just how powerful Sion is, but in particular, look at how well he main tanks. So let's fast forward to kind of the next turn here. We're gonna have BB kill this butcher and then move her out of the way. And you can see that Blood is about to get his turn, and thanks to all the aggro that Sion has built up through combat, Blood is actually going to do a leaping attack on the Sion. This, of course, gets covered by Anne. Again, his team bonding absolutely insane. Gemini going off there, and so he does his leaping slash, very similar to Schwartz damage, you know, 250 and then 120, both blocked. You know, again, magic armor, absolutely insane. This is also a combination of keen sense as well, as the Destrons do get bonus damage to exposed. And when you do actually have magic armor on, you do become kind of like a beast where you're permanently exposed, and keen sense kind of takes care of that. But let's go ahead and speed up to his next turn here. And so, you know, Blood is right here, and again, this is where bonding is really insane. So we're going to do Lightning Ball, which would be his primary single target. You can see that he hit damage absorbing, the max amount of damage that Sion can do in a single hit. That, of course, is going to trigger Magic Conversion, which is going to heal him. But you can see Gemini is going to attack with fire support, right? He's going to trigger Giselle to fire support off of that. Elisa is going to probably cover or fire support. Gemini again. BB's going to hit because Blood was probably intending to hit Elisa, so she's going to cover. And, you know, then Ray is going to hit from the background here. And what all this means to really say is that it starts with Sion, right? I can't begin to tell you guys how often, you know, if he's at the front line and he fires one thing, what that cascades into, especially now where the Destrons don't have infinite auto dodging and stuff like that. You can really get incredible use out of cover and pincer attack, but particular to Sion, he is the link that kind of puts everyone together. To kind of solidify Sion's main tank bid here, he's going to get an ability called Furious Lightning Gale. This is going to be immunity to AT delay, which is insane on its own. It's also going to be dodge all responsive attacks. So you see this close suppressive fire going off here, Furious Lightning Gale. The sniper is going to fire support off of the close suppressive fire, Furious Lightning Gale. And on top of that, it's going to increase his dodge chance by 30% on melee attacks, give him bonus 10 speed. It's going to give him a flat 15% attack damage, and it's going to have a duration of 3 turns. This is an absolutely insane ability and very highly underrated in the game, and I highly recommend that you guys try it out because it really makes a massive difference and is one of the core differences between Sion and Irene's Battlemage. To kind of further expand on just how powerful Furious Lightning Gale is, here we are on 46 Violent, and as you can see, it's the full Skull team here. And Sion's running by, and he's actually going to get clipped by Skull Slashers for stallment. But with Furious Lightning Gale, obviously, it's going to be dodged. Now, you guys have reached this point in the game, you know that one of the big things about the Skull team and what makes them so deadly is their responsive attacks. Now, literally all of them fired at him and none of them connected. Looks like one of them got coincidental hit off of to force a bleeding even on dodge. But, you know, there's a shot from Skull Eater, there's a shot from snipers from behind. Sion took 0 damage from this. 0 damage. Even further still, notice the AT right now, right? So you got Slasher at 7, and then most of the Skull team at, like, let's say the teens or so. All of them are going to fire. Notice this 30 AT delay from fire support. Every last one of them is going to go up in action time, and you can see now that they've all been flooded backwards with the exception of Skull Slasher because Forestallment doesn't actually take AT. So, you know, it's not just a defensive toolkit, but it's also a way of controlling the action time board. And it's so incredibly amazing for a main tank to have. So we're going to take a step further into Sion's defenses with Battlemage, and it's just insane. And it just keeps getting crazier and crazier. So Battlemage will have access to Iron Heart if the incoming damage falls behind 33% of your total health. You'll only take 33% of the damage. So right here, we're fighting the Skull team. We're getting Overwatch shot onto Sion. Looks like he missed. However, you know, there's some backup fire, and you can see Ironheart triggering there and forcing it down to, like, you know, 30 damage or so. That should have been a lot more. Skull Eater, you know, one of the deadlier snipers in this game, hit Sion for 80. You know, and you can just see Ironheart triggering over and over. Now, Sion also has access to Magic Field, which also reduces incoming ESP attack damage if their ESP attack is less than your ESP power and you'll only take half, followed with Ironheart. So it's really insane. You know, even if he didn't have Furious Lightning Gale, he has this Ironheart ability that's based off of your total health. And what's very interesting about Sion versus Irene, Sion has much more access to a higher health pool. You know, mastery sets like Nerve Stimulus, or let's say Bracelet Gear, which, you know, the primary stat is health, which Irene can't use. It's very common to see Sion at, you know, 3,000, throw on a giant potion, 3,500, and so that Ironheart then becomes, you know, like 1,200 health that they have to deal in damage and can't. It's absolutely insane, and, you know, just important to note of another reason why Sion is so good as a main tank. Now, if you notice here, he did get hit by Skull Piercer and a bunch of other fire supports that did increase his cooldown time, right? So he can only do his flash hit, but honestly, Sion is not bad as a fighter either. And he is a lightning user, so he does get access to an ability called Condenser. Condenser is one of the strongest abilities in the game, and it essentially takes any damage that you take and then feeds it back in the form of flash stacks. And they can, you know, go up to 999, and it feeds into both attack power and ESP power. So right here, Skull Eater is going to pop Chain Fire and attack Sion, right? And keep in mind, Sion just fired off all of his CMP stacks because he did a melee flash hit. Now, Piercer is going to follow up with him, and he immediately forestallments him, basically killing him, but gets taken care of by Impulse Fields, right? And you can see Condenser coming off there. Now, he's going to hit him again, trigger Condenser again, taking that damage, recentering it, and he's going to counter, and that's going to be Skull Piercer's Skull Mark. Now, Eater, you know, on his Chain Fire for his second hit, again, Skull Piercer is going to fire support, and of course get countered again with Condenser damage, killing him instantly. This is absolutely insane. And again, another core difference between him and Irene. Even though Irene has a higher offensive potential on average, you can use Condenser to kind of, feed into all the damage that he takes as a main tank to basically kill units as necessary. I find this incredibly powerful and highly recommend that you guys try it out. Alright guys, and we have the abilities overview for Battlemage. So we'll start with the basic, of course. Flash hit, this will go to 75% attack, 75% ESP with supporting magic circuit. Certainly has its place, but in general, you will not want to use this because once you have 25 stacks of CMP, you will essentially trigger Magic Explosion, which is Battlemage's primary form of offense. So normally you would not actually trigger any of your CMP stacks unless you're using an ESP attacks, Ripple Flash, Lightning Ball, etc., etc. But unfortunately, the way Magic Explosion is designed is once you've hit 25 stacks times 4% per stack, it's a 100% chance of Magic Explosion or a guaranteed chance to use CMP. The problem, of course, being that this is damage type blunt, and if you do that, you will not get Magic Withdrawal, so you'll not return the 12 stacks that you would normally get back. This is certainly used as a last resort, but I would not think of it as kind of the end of the world. It's just a restart on his CMP count. But as a whole, this is pretty good. This is particularly good on both Sion and Irene because supporting Magic Circuit boosts it up to 75-75 on the ratios, and that's very important. I've actually removed supporting Magic Circuit so that you guys can see the differences of what it should actually be. For general abilities, I actually recommend Ripple Flash, Lightning Ball, and Fierce Lightning Gale. However, Sion has nothing but good abilities, so we'll go over the ones I didn't recommend. Thunderbolt has a massive cast delay. 40 AT is huge, and you do have some cast delay, such as improving magic. You can put on trained attack. You might be able to get like 50% off, which is not too bad, but as a whole, the cast delay is massive. It is also 8 tiles. For the single target, I chose Lightning Ball, which is 9 tiles. That tile does make a difference. And notice that Thunderbolt just has a chance to create Electric Field by 25% chance. It's really, you're not going to base your like a Linked Lightning Tactics build off of that. The reality is that Lightning Ball increases damage by 50% when attacking a target and exposed. So this is massive. This is a very good single target killer in my opinion, and the cast delay is only 12 compared to 40. So I really think that Lightning Ball as a whole is much better. That extra tile as well for covers and pincers, which is one of Sion's specialties, really comes in handy. Flash Kick, this is extremely good against single target. This is kind of your quintessential boss killer. I prefer, if there's going to be a boss, to just use Annihilation Kick. I think a lot of people might have trouble with this one because if you're a new battle mage and you're looking at the stats, right, and you got supporting magic circuit, which is going to mirror your attack power with your ESP power. So even though you guys see 100% attack, 50% ESP, supporting magic circuit will then push that to 100, 100. And you're going to think, oh, I should use that because, you know, it's the combined damage of those. The reality is that Sion is truly a mage at heart. And, you know, having him with Lightning Ball, having him with Ripple Flash, it comes in so often, pincers and cover attacks and just everything you can possibly imagine. So I just don't warrant this enough because this is basically forcing you to put you in positions that the enemy is taking cover, when in reality, Sion should always be the centerpiece, or rather, Sion's battle mage should always be the centerpiece, the tank in your party. It's where everyone should be gathering, essentially. And so doing that kind of messes up the synergy. I've found over, you know, just tons of gameplay that it's better to leave him as a mage. And, you know, generally speaking, unless you're playing on the absolute highest difficulties, these will be more than enough in damage when they trigger Magic Explosion. And then finally, Flash Beam is incredible. It's hard to knock this. It is a high cast delay, just like Thunderbolt, so that does knock it down a peg. It does do suppression, 30 AT increase, which is pretty cool. I will say, not many targets live Battlemage once it's up to speed, once it's at 25 stacks, once it's hitting, you know, Magic Explosion. You're not really going to see it, but it does have that bonus to expose. You could certainly replace that with Ripple. I find Ripple creates situations that you just wouldn't think, like you guys saw with Thundercron there. Sion will do incredible feats to trigger this. You know, aiming at enemies that are close to get to an enemy that's further back. And I think the most missed thing about Ripple Flash here is that the chain damage keeps increasing over and over. And I went over this a little bit in the Sion's Black Mage video. But the final chain of Ripple does a lot of damage, and so you kind of don't get to see the whole picture. If you're looking at just the 50% ESP power, then it's, you know, essentially his lowest or weakest ability. But the reality is, it's a much shorter cast delay, literally half the AT, and it can give you situations that you just wouldn't expect, as opposed to Flash Beam. However, Flash Beam, Thunderbolt, and Flash Kick are all amazing. Would not knock you guys for using those for sure. But again, my pick, Ripple Flash, Lightning Ball. These are both low cost, you know, cast delays here. Ripple is your multi-hits, Lightning Ball is your single target, and you know, you really can't go wrong with these two. It keeps his turns turning quickly. And then of course, finally, Fierce Lightning Gale. You have to understand what you're fighting. But once you understand that Furious Lightning Gale is so unbelievably powerful, it's one of the biggest differences between him and Irene's Battlemage, because Irene can get locked up by AT delay put in the wrong situation. And then for overcharge ability, I'm going to recommend Annihilation Kick. And this is kind of to make up for Flash Kick. You know, quite often, you know, Sion will be tanking, he'll be in the center of your party, and a boss is going to come up and he's got to go through the tank. So right on that turn when he gets, you know, attacks the tank, Sion lives it, gets up on his next turn, hits overcharge, he's got an Annihilation Kick waiting for him. That's essentially a death sentence for anything but the Destrons. This is unblockable. It is 3 attacks in a row, so obviously that's important for a lot of the later bosses that have, you know, impulse fields and all that stuff. This will go to 75-75 on each kick as a ratio with supporting Magic Circuit. And important to note, again, 100% bonus and still stance. This is where that, you know, he's basically the front target and they come straight for him, they melee him, and then the next turn he comes up, overcharge, bam, you know, they're done. That's 100% full damage. Nothing's gonna live that unless it has damage absorb, essentially, or, you know, maybe Skull Crasher or something like that, where it's, you know, impulse fields into Sandcastle into Skull Seal or some nonsense. But I prefer this. This is the quintessential boss killer, and it kind of makes up for not having Flash Kick into here. And so I would recommend that, you know, let's say you go like Lightning Ball with Flash Kick, then you're missing kind of an AoE, and that's the point where you'd want to put in like Lightning Storm to kind of balance out your kit, essentially. You know, I would definitely recommend use the overcharge that makes the most sense. Annihilation Kick is Sion's boss killer, and then I can also recommend Lightning Storm because it's massive. 3 tile radius, you can't go wrong with that. Important to note, both of these are 60 cast delays, so, you know, having improving magic, having trained attack will certainly bring this down a peg, and it's definitely needed. I cannot recommend Flash Beam Cannon. It's really just an upgraded version of Flash Beam, so if you're going to want to have something like that, just take Flash Beam. I'd rather you do that than spend double the AT on this. And yeah, there's a little bit more AT delay. Yeah, it's a little bit more damage, but honestly, Sion doesn't really have a problem with damage. And, you know, the difference between Flash Beam and Flash Beam Cannon, it's just not that big. So it's, you know, if you don't prefer Ripple and you like your AoE to be Flash Beam, just use this with Annihilation Kick or you know, Lightning Storm or something like that. But definitely, I would not ever use Flash Beam Cannon in its current state. All right, and we have the stats, equipment, and individual masteries. So let's hit the individual masteries first. So Hungry Wolf is very much designed for Black Mage. It's get out of jail free card. You know, very similar to Fight Against Fate, like on Kylie. You will cancel fatal damage. The thing about me calling Sion the main tank, though, is if you can get him killed, especially with my build, I'd be pretty surprised. And so, as a whole, I don't think this is a good pick at all. It will be essentially completely wasted. Even the snack portion at the start of every turn, Sion can heal himself on Battlemage. There's really, I just don't see any point to Hungry Wolf. Bloodwalker, I suppose there's a possibility that you could get Sion low health, but it'd be really, really hard. You know, with Giant Potion at 3,300 health, with 130 block and tons of damage reduction, I just don't see it happening. So even this is not that good, even though I do think this is great on Black Mage if you build up its defenses. So really, that just leaves Cheerfulness, and that's going to be my recommendation. It will give you immunity to mental debuff. This means all of the battle cry nonsense that you see at the beginning of the game, you'd be immune to. All the stuff from, you know, like 47 Violent with the frogs that have curse and all that stuff. But most importantly, Battlemage does get very quick turns, and so this 8 SP per start of turn does add up quickly, and you will see an increase in overcharges, which is of course incredibly awesome. Let's see, let's also go over that Sion is of course a lightning SP user. This means that he's going to get 0.3 critical hit chance per 1 lightning SP. You can expand that to 0.6, I think with the Thunder of Rage if you wanted to. This is amazing and exactly what Battlemage needs. In general, Battlemage does not have any built-in critical hit chance, so there's definitely an edge here for Sion versus Irene as well. You know, that crit chance really comes in handy, and you know, it doesn't matter if Sion's on Black Mage or Battle Mage. Essentially, Lightning takes care of his critical hit rate. Also, very important, you can see Lightning increases Lightning SP by 10 per target dealing when you're dealing a critical strike, so it further feeds into itself. And obviously this gets very out of hand with AoE abilities, you know, Ripple Flash and Flash Beam. I do recommend that you take one AoE ability, you know, Ripple Flash or Flash, one single target ability, Lightning Ball, Thunderbolt, or Flash Kick. But either way, Ripple and Flash Beam feed very well, and it's not uncommon to, you know, start a turn, get 4 criticals in a row, and essentially, you know, go straight to overcharge or some crazy nonsense. Really insane and very important to note. Battlemage's class mastery, just stupid, ridiculous. Just completely ignores both 25% of armor and 25% of resistance. Doesn't matter if it's physical, doesn't matter if it's ESP attack. One of the best passives in the entire game by far. It's one of the reasons why Battlemage deals so much damage as well. Really can't go wrong. For stats, obviously 3,000 is amazing. You won't generally see these kinds of numbers with Irene because Irene cannot use bracelets. And so this health bar matters because this is what your Iron Heart ratio is based off of, you know, 33% of your health. So, you know, if you only got like 1,800 health, you know, then you have a 600 damage ratio essentially there. And so it's just not, you know, it doesn't work quite the same. And this is another reason why Sion makes such a great main tank. He will have a decent amount of vigor. You won't have to worry about that. The core magic heart or whatever will take care of that. He will also have core magic reactor. He will have a ton of vigor recovery, and this can be very good if you're using magic optimization. You know, of course, CMP feeds into vigor recovery as well, and then so if you're running magic optimization, they kind of all link together into this massive amount of damage increase. I would say for move, you'll want to have Sion with at least 10 move. To be a tank, you got to be at the front. Again, with speed, you want him to have high speed, and this is part of the reason why I'm using the golden set, but we'll get to that in a second. For offensive properties, I would not recommend using Knuckles. That's for a lot of reasons, unless you're going for a counter build. But if you're using CMP in general, you should be using a bangle and feeding into ESP damage as a whole. You know, Battlemage can have technically hit chance issues, and that is, I didn't mention this for Thunderbolt and Lightning Storm, but they are both fall type attacks, and it is one of the reasons why it is nice to use them because of that hit rate issue. However, I find it better to, you know, kind of give a concentration potion from an ally onto them just to kind of seal in their hit chance. Sion needs a bit more hit rate than Irene because he's usually aiming from afar, whereas Irene's usually up in people's face. Again, with crit chance, this is kind of an odd number because, yeah, I'm sitting at, what is this, 62 right now, but, you know, the reality is that Lightning SP is going to be feeding into this. So, in general, I would say, you know, Sion has a very high critical hit rate, which is great. It does actually have kind of low critical damage, and that's not what Battlemage is about. They're about that flat damage from Magic Explosion. And as a whole, Battlemage is such a ridiculous class. So, defensively, 1200 armor. This is very good. I would prefer somewhere around 1500 for a tank, but still pretty good. Resistance kind of low. You could always put on a ring to bring this up. This would be good towards the middle of the game with Spoonus, like the Pyromancers and such, as well as, you know, Thundercron, Flamecron. You would want to maybe increase your resistance a little bit higher, but as you go into the DLC, you'll find more physical damage than anything else. Block and dodge doesn't really matter. You know, it's nice to have a little bit. I will say for block, you do want a bit more than usual. You would like somewhere between 30 and 50, and the reason why is that when you put on magic armor and you have 100, you know, when you get into the DLC, the White Skeleton Masks do have Fight King. They can tear through armor at like a 20% rate or so. So, you know, depending on how many stacks of armor break you have on, you could have, you know, somewhere around the realm of 30 to 40 missing block. So a good like 140 block will do it really well, and it'll keep up his block basically the entire time. Now for equipment. So obviously equipment has tons of different ways you could go about this. You know, I will say I'm always a big fan of the 3-piece Goldens on, you know, so many characters. There's so many things that it covers, but as a whole, the Golden set really sets your speed up. That's the, you know, the real ticker there. This bangle's giving 10, this jacket's giving 10, the charm is giving 5 for a total of 25. The charm is giving acceleration when no mobs are around. That's a total of 55. The 3 set is giving another 10 speed. That's a total of 65 speed. So you can kind of just be done with speed if you take the 3 set. I also like that because, let's say, you know, an alternate would be, of course, the Flash Ruler's Necromancer Bangle. This is incredibly good. The problem is that when a bangle drops, it can be any of these elements. It could be even non-elements, Savior, Shadow, you know, Transcendence. So if you're just getting to endgame, and, you know, maybe you killed Jaro once and he gave you a Frost Destroyer Bangle like he likes to do, that's going to be not of no use to you, but, you know, not as good as a dedicated Flash Ruler. So I do recommend the Necromancer Bangle, and what's interesting about Battlemage and Sion and him being the main tank is that these buffs that you get from the Necromancer Bangle will actually go to your teammate. Versus with Irene, usually she's running up into people's faces, and so she's way out of position. And that usually means that the bangle is going to trigger onto an enemy that's nearby, that, you know, not the one that she just killed, but the one that's, you know, 3 tiles away. So you're going to start seeing buffs on teammates that you know, like to keep right next to them, such as like Hazing, I like to keep on Sweeper, you know, close suppressive fire, right at the front line, but behind the big tank, basically. Another highly prized weapon that I don't see enough players using is the Professional Gem Crafter's Bangle. This is going to reduce your cast delay on your ESP abilities by 20%. This is a large amount. It does hit pretty hard. Notice the ESP damage between the Golden Bangle and the Crafter's Bangle. Crafter's Bangle does deal more. But most importantly, you would want it for the ESP attack delay. But if you were to take the 2-piece set, which is also not bad, then where is it? You get the ultra high quality gem crafting machine. This is a bonus hit chance, 20%. And so you can combine this for the 2-set bonus for additional speed, additional ESP power. Most importantly, you're making up for one of Battlemage's weaknesses, which is their hit rating. So there's certainly a nice build where you combine that. I would definitely recommend the Gemcrafter's Bangle, Necromancer Bangle, and of course the Golden Leather Bangle. Everything else, I don't think it... Oh, yeah. And of course, if you hate Destron's Heroic Blackthorn, can't really go wrong there. I usually assign my Irene as Destron killer. She's meant for bosses. But, if you want to have Sion do it too, this works just as well. For jackets, there aren't really a lot of good options. Ben's jacket, even though it does have a huge health boost, you don't really need the block. It doesn't really do much for Sion unless, you're missing, complete block. You won't really get much from the Blood-Soaked Bulletproof jacket. You won't really get much from Hansen's suit because it increases crit damage. You don't really need crit damage on Battlemage. It's just flat damage, and you don't really need to mess with it. I suppose you could use Hansen's suit for the vigor recovery. Nah, I can't really recommend much from here. If you're a player that's at endgame, I guess you can just pick whatever. But for me, having this piece set aside as the 3-piece for the golden leather, this is going to shred 15% dodge. It's just, golden leather just keeps on giving, and as you keep using it, you start to see how powerful it really is. But really, you could go anything on the jacket piece. Again, over here, rings, bracelets. Rings are not that good in the meta of this game, being end game and all that stuff. Again, it is really good in the middle part of the story where you need the resistance. But as a whole, I think towards the end, bracelets and wrist guards are what really do it. And since Sion can't use wrist guards, bracelet is the way to go. Again, it is expanding his Iron Heart radius, so I think that's really awesome. I will recommend, the Bonaparte bracelet is very, very good from Sanson. Probably the best bracelet in the game because it gives health and speed. Those are awesome modifiers. I'm using a Stranger for the move distance. But, if you need bonus speed, maybe you didn't take the golden set, you could do a, Strategist with 20 speed or, whatever you happen to need. But that's what's kind of nice about having like an open slot is you can slot what you need. And then, of course, for sneakers, I actually really like the Dragon Tattoo leather sneakers from Jiaozai. These have a bonus of AT decrease whenever you do a counter responsive. Most importantly, the responsive because, Sion should be bonding and synergizing with everyone all the time. So he'll have a natural, kind of 10 AT in between turns that he just burns from Dragon Tattoo sneakers, which is really cool. You could, if you wanted to, choose the golden sneakers along with Gold Molar Charm for immunity to stun. But I don't recommend this because Gold Molar Charm does not have good synergy with him. The only way he would normally get good use out of this is with Annihilation Kick or somebody else doing physical debuffing. But as a whole, it's really not that good. And, I would recommend, if you're going to do the Dragon Tattoo leather sneakers, again, pick the stats you need. If you need speed, go for a Twilight Chaser. If you need movement, go for a Dark Chaser, etc. For Potion, guaranteed, has to be Giant Potion. Keep in mind, I do consider him the best main tank in the game, or right on par with Litan's Martial Artist. And then finally for the gear slot, I did use Gold Wing Charm. That's for the 3-set. That is for the speed. That is for the acceleration. All of those are incredible. I would also recommend the Draki's Perfect Scale. This is the king of defensive gear. It is Keen Sense combined with Lightning Reflexes combined with Steel Armor. It is unbelievably powerful and one of my favorite items defensively for endgame. Totally awesome. I don't think there's anything else that would really stick out here. Let me take a look. No. I suppose you could do Golden Mane if you wanted kind of a higher boost to crit chance, or if you were, you could go with like Golden Feather for like a overflowing energy build. But as a whole, there's not a whole lot here. Hellfire Seal, if you want to increase your flat ESP, this isn't bad, I guess. Again, the high quality gem crafting machine, definitely a viable build. Lowering your cast delay, increasing your hit chance. Yeah, I don't really see anything else that I'd really recommend. I definitely would not recommend the red flower. Taking critical strike grants you a random rage. I've had Sion trigger rampage before on Black Mage and kill my entire team with the AoE ability, so it's definitely don't recommend that. Yeah, none of these really stand out. I guess if you made a counter build, you could do weight. It's always pretty good, but as a whole, yeah, there aren't many options for him gear-wise, and that's part of the reason why Gem Crafting Machine is so good. Perfect scale, and then of course the Gold Wing Charm. And we have the Mastery board section. So as always, feel free to pause, take a look, take a gander, see what you would keep, see what you would throw out. This is the Fury team build. This team denotes that, you know, this is for when Sion is basically your main tank and kind of the centerpiece of your front line. I do have a solo build kind of similar to Irene's Battlemage, but I wanted to showcase this one because I do think that he makes a amazing main tank. So for the core offensive masteries, of course, we're going to be taking Magic Explosion. This is just unbelievably dumb. Your 4% chance to deal 100% bonus damage per CMP, 25 stacks, 100% damage. It's just stupid, and that's it. That's all you really need to say. It's just ridiculous. We'll also be taking Magic Penetration. This is going to take Battlemage's class mastery Incapacitation and add it. So basically, you're going to be ignoring 50% resistance right off the bat. I've done a lot of endgame testing between BB and Sion on their Black Mages, and Sion actually deals more because of Resistance Shred. And so this is probably, in the end game, the most amount of damage bang for your buck that you'll get is through Resistance Shred. So I definitely stick to my guns with this. And then finally, we're of course going to be taking Breakthrough. You won't see this on the Irene build because it works differently for Sion. Sion feeds off of getting critical strikes, and so having Breakthrough, shredding their block in half, and having Sion get crits means more SP. More SP feeds into his critical hit chance, and then of course quicker overcharge means ability of use for Annihilation Kick or whatever the heck you need to use. But this is an unbelievably powerful ability specific to Sion that I wouldn't always recommend on Irene, but will definitely recommend on Sion. And for core defensive masteries, we're of course going to be taking Moving Castle. This is the staple for Battlemage, and you know why it has that kind of just initial, holy crap, this class is so incredibly ridiculous. It is going to have Iron Heart, which is the primary defensive mechanism, combined with Magic Armor. You know, your 100 block, you know, every hit turns into a block, and then of course, you know, if that block is under 1/3 of your total health, then Iron Heart takes over and you only take 33%. So, you know, this is what really seals the deal on Battlemage. It's his layered defenses, just like with Irene, and this threshold is so massive on Sion because of the bracelet change, because of things like nerve stimulus, you know, whatever you want to take, but the health pool is massive and incredibly good. We're also going to be taking Magic Conversion. This is your heal. You can also get it from Magic Relief, but I prefer Magic Conversion just because it works better kind of mastery-wise. It has higher synergy. Important to note that this is only on adjacent combat, so you will want, if Sion needs a heal, to get near an enemy and trigger this to heal. You won't get it from range. So it is, you know, there's that. And then finally, we are going to be taking Keen Sense. So again, whenever you use Magic Armor, you will essentially become kind of like beasts and drones who are permanently exposed. And so this can lead to massive amounts of damage. Think like, you know, Crab Mitts at 300% burrow, or Destrons doing their leap attack, all the things that do bonus exposed state damage, Battlemages take that in full, and this completely removes that. So keep in mind, I am going for a basically main tank build here, and this has incredible use all throughout the game. And for core support masteries, of course, we're taking Magic Accelerating Circuit. This is the initial, start to CMP. It has all of the most important stuff, Ironheart, Core Magic Reactor, Magic Duplication, which is essentially mandatory, and supporting Magic Circuit. I know we only kind of brushed on this earlier, but essentially, if you have an ability that does both attack and ESP scaling, and the ratios are not the same, then whichever one is stronger will go up to the higher. So an example, with Flash Kick I showed you guys earlier was a 100 attack and 50 ESP ratio base. You can see that it's now ESP is now mirroring it at 100%. So obviously this has amazing potential on Annihilation Kick, amazing potential on Flash Hit, but does not work as well on Ripple, Lightning Ball, Thunderball, Flash Beam, because all of these are just flat ESP along with Lightning SP damage. And this is one of the advantages that Irene has over Sion. Almost all of Irene's abilities, other than I think Somersault, allows for the combined damage of both attack power and ESP power. But make no mistake, Sion still hits like a bus, but this is certainly core to the class. We're also going to be taking Overflowing Magic, which is most definitely core. This is going to be your +2 every turn. This is going to be that 6 stacks of CMP to 16 stacks of CMP to 25 stacks. Overflowing Magic, in my opinion, is absolutely mandatory. I can't see a build without it. You just need to get to 25 stacks as fast as humanly possible. And then finally, Mutant. Another advantage that Irene has is Cauterize, 1 TP in a defensive slot, and Cauterize is so amazing. But Sion does not have access to that, so I actually highly recommend Mutant, especially because he will be main tanking for you guys. He will be getting debuffed out the wazoo. It will become a regular thing, but he will basically take all of those debuffs and convert them to random buffs. It is an amazing mastery. I recommend this on almost every melee hero in some form or way, and of course on the main tank. Okay, and for the alternative masteries, I feel like people like this more because it gives them a wider breadth of what all the build could do. You could, of course, use Release Magic. This will, of course, take into account Magic Optimization, which is sitting lonely on itself right now, but it would feed into, you can see down there, Utility Magic and Magic Circulation for basically a massive amount of Vigor Recovery and kind of an expedited manner with Magic Circulation, where Release Magic increases by level as you use it. And so you get this massive amount of Vigor Recovery, which then converts into more damage. You can't really go wrong with that. The only thing is, I would say you probably have to pull Veteran for that, and that's going to take away your stun resistance. And not everything at the end game is about getting knocked into walls. The White Clowns can naturally stun you with hits, and stuns come from every direction. And I do think that Veteran is very much a necessary item for the main tank. Maybe not for like an off tank, but definitely for a main tank. And then, of course, Trained Attack. Trained Attack is incredibly awesome. It actually does a very similar function to Improving Magic. I think I would pull this if I had an extra training point. But Improving Magic just reduces a flat cast delay by 25%. It does feed into a few different masteries, primarily the ones that you saw down there as well. Utility Magic, Magic Research Student. Trained Attack, however, gives a base attack increase to your abilities, which adds quite a bit, and it does cast delay. And it's very interesting because by the amount of masteries that I currently have, it actually comes out to be about the same as Improving Magic. So right now I have Improving Magic, let's say Ripple is normally 20. I'm currently using 5 off of Improving Magic, which is exactly 25%. However, let's just say we'll take off Improving Magic and off Veteran for the moment and put on Trained Attack. And interesting enough, Ripple Flash will also be at 15 AT delay. So instead of just the cast delay you're getting from improving magic, you're also getting an increased damage on the flat values of everything. So you can see right now with trained attack, Ripple base is 315 plus the ESP and all that stuff. If we take it off and go back to what we were at before, you're going to see that Ripple Flash's base damage now has gone back to just 90. And these numbers do make a difference, and if you're really curious to how much of a difference this does make, you should check out my Ray Grenadier video, because Train Attack is absolutely insane. I just didn't have room for it on this board, and I do think that these are all mandatory, other than maybe like Magic Optimization and Veteran or so. And then Nerve Stimulus, this was very close to being slotted in. The reality is that it is kind of tight on the basic slots for any Battlemage board. I feel like Seeker of Enlightenment is mandatory for any Battlemage board. But the Electric Pulse and then feeding into Electric Pulse again with the Mastery set for Nerve Stimulus, plus the speed increase, plus the health increase, again, more than Irene, plus ESP power. These are all things that are very good and certainly a good alternative. And then, of course, if you guys are interested in going the lightning route, of course, Condenser is incredibly awesome. Triggers flash by the amount of damage taken. Essentially, if you get hit, you're going to trigger flash by a certain amount. This stacks all the way up to 999 stacks, or the equivalent of 999 attack power and 999 ESP power, which you can imagine on something like Flash Hit, Flash Kick, and Annihilation Kick that combine both makes unbelievable numbers. I would certainly consider this, and if it wasn't for me wanting to put Sion as the first up, you know, front tank, main tank, always there with best condition, I definitely sometimes swap these two out. I will say that, you know, you might think, well, Sion's main tank, why does he have best condition if he's just going to lose that health, you know, basically tanking? The thing is that magic conversion, the healing from Battlemage is so insane that essentially as long as you're hitting adjacent, you're going to be at full health every single turn. So you'd be amazed how much you get out of this. Also, the kind of damage taken reduction at the beginning there against, you know, think like the Destrons, if you're at full health going into engage and stuff, is a lot of good numbers that come from best condition as a whole, and it's generally a staple for most end game builds. But make no mistake, Condenser is awesome, and I do have a counter attack build that I'm working on that I think you guys will like, but I just don't have it to show for today. And then finally, big shout out to Giant Thunder. Again, at the end of the game, it's all about armor shred. It's all about resistance shred. That's one of the reasons why Battlemage does the damage that it does. And you could theoretically put on Atom Decomp and Giant Thunder for, you know, another 25%, and not even have to use a Heroic Thorn, Blackthorn Bangle for Destrons. You would have that shred on every unit, basically, which is obviously insane. You know, it comes with Lightning Magician, amazing. It comes with Thunderbolt with stun chance, amazing on stuff like Gyro. Acute Pain, damage to lightning debuff target increased by 100%. Basically, Lightning's version of Hemorrhage, amazing. And then, of course, Atom Decomp itself, Resistance Shred. As a whole, Giant Thunder is so good. Easily one of Lightning's best Mastery sets. And gotta throw a shout out to that. Alright, and then finally, of course, we have the Fury solo board. I want people to have this just in case maybe you want to treat Sion like you would normally treat Irene for whatever reason. Who knows? I thought it'd be there. I particularly think that with all the bonding synergies, you would never really want to use this other than actual soloing. I would never do this in a team setting. However, it's here, just in case you guys want to see it. The major differences, of course, just like Irene, is Solitary Fighter and Wandering Brawler. You really can't go wrong with these. Solitary Fighter is going to reduce your action time delay by 20 when you're attacking a target. Using Lightning Ball and Ripple Flash essentially negates these, this will essentially negate them completely. You will have incredible damage reduction, and then with Wandering Brawler, of course, she'll have even additional AT decrease, and it really just works really well. Standing alone, every class mastery, and you know, damage taken decreases and all that. It all just perfectly works. Very hard to go wrong. Also, trained attack placed in this build, so essentially Sion is running around as basically Irene in this version, and pretty good. I do think there's room for improvement on this build, but this is pretty close to what you're aiming for. And we have the Fury Team Showcase. This is actually going to be pretty damn short because Battlemage does not do chain killing very well with how CMP is designed. Keep in mind this is for the team build, and this is essentially exactly what you would want to expect from using this build. So right here we have two of my two main tanks essentially, which is Elisa's Barbarian and then Sion's Battlemage. I actually brought up here to kind of deal damage to Blood with Lightning Ball. Unfortunately, Lightning Ball is down, so I do have Ripple, and I'm not going to Ripple just one target, so we're going to go ahead and aim at Sanson, who apparently got contraction probably from Leeton, who's at full health, Ben, who has contraction from Leeton, who's at full health, and it's going to chain from basically Sanson to Ben to Enhanced Camo to Schwartz. And so we're going to let it rip. Now, he instantaneously kills Ben, which is incredible because obviously Magic Explosion is going off. But, keep in mind, Ripple Flash is a 50% ESP ratio, nothing else. So, this is one of those things where Breakthrough is incredibly powerful because Ben naturally has about, let's say, about 120 block, give or take. So, that's going to shred that down to 60. And with Sion's high critical rate, it's just going to go, basically straight through. And so, kills Ben, full health, one single shot. Now, Sion's also running Furious Lightning Gale. The Destrons, of course, are going to return fire. And you can see that it would have triggered AT delay, except for Furious Lightning Gale went off. Furious Lightning Gale would not have triggered right there had it not been their AT delay version. And then you can see because there's an automatic reattack is considered a responsive, that's automatically dodged via Furious Lightning Gale, as well as with Enhanced Camo here, you can see Furious Lightning Gale also triggered. So what should have been 50, 100 from automatic reattack plus another 50 for 100 for a total of 150 AT delay, which would knock out any character for the rest of the map. That's where you would want to, or rather need to, use Kylie to support Protocol and Awaken to force them out. Had this been Irene, she'd be knocked out. That's it. And, you wouldn't get to use her the rest of the map of, the most important part. Instead, Sion's at the front. He took no damage. You can see all the defenses triggering Iron Heart. He started at 3,400. Now he's at 3,200. He increased the Destron's delay. Remember, even though he may have triggered their, emergency drive and all that stuff, it doesn't matter because they're still doing the counter. Each counter is 30 AT. Schwartz took 60 AT. Enhanced Camo took 30 AT. Ben died instantaneously, and Sanson's very low health. And then, of course, interesting that the enemies love to use your battle mages for cover. And in my opinion, this is just another boost because Sanson, instead of moving backwards into, even further cover, he's moving forward like an idiot, like thinking that he's essentially Ben. So Sanson comes up, decides to shoot my other main tank, Elisa, who takes, 100 damage or so, and then, of course, pays the price for it. This is generally what you can expect from Sion's Battlemage Fury build, and it's unbelievable how well of a main tank it works as. You can certainly add more damage if you wanted to, but for me, taking out Ben in a single hit while also main tanking for the whole party, that's as good as it gets.
Alright guys, that wraps up this video. Obviously Battlemage is such a nuts class, probably the strongest in the game. It's very simple to understand, and basically you get a lot of DPS with tons of tanking and healing combined. It's hard to really go wrong. I didn't think that this video was like very necessary because as a whole the class is just insane, so I'm pretty sure you could have figured it out. Or if you took, you know, the Irene class spotlight video, you could have just really dumped most of those masteries into Sion's Battlemage and been perfectly fine. Either way, now there's a video, that's good. And you know, it's very much, they designed it very well. And so it's not like where there's issues, like think like Bianca's Witch, where she has shaman healing masteries, right? You know, Anne can do this almost kind of hybrid witch role, but Bianca can't even heal. So a lot of these shaman healing masteries do nothing for her, and it just doesn't feel as fleshed out as it should be. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitch, and until next time.